All right. Let's check my levels here. Goody. Well, cool. I'm back. So yesterday was my scheduled stream, and Behance would not allow me to actually initiate a live stream for whatever reason. I don't know why, but they have fixed it. I got in touch with them, and they fixed it. So now, today, I'm doing sort of a makeup / test stream to make sure everything is cool. And I kind of gave up on what I was going to do last time, yesterday, because it didn't happen, so it feels a bit cursed. So instead, what I'm going to do is play with the Substance 3D materials inside of Illustrator. So we're going to do this rabbit. This rabbit is something I created for a book that I'm working on, which is not this newest book. It's a book I'm working on. So this book, there we go. Adobe Creative Cloud Classroom in a Book from Adobe Press and Peachpit. They're having an Adobe Max special right now, and this book is included, and it's actually 40% off. But any other time, you can get 35% off with the code LABREC. So that's not the book that I'm working on with this asset. It's a different book because I can't stop. So with this asset, I want to go ahead and open up some of the 3D stuff. So let's see here. In my properties panel, I've got my effects, and you can always get to it from effect, 3D materials as well. And let's see, how should I do this? I guess I'll just select his head, right? I could select the whole thing. Let's just do a Command A. Just select the entire rabbit. And then go into my effects in the properties panel, 3D materials, and let's do inflate. I could do extrude and bevel too. That might work in this case, but let's go inflate. Just kind of see what happens, right? And already looks pretty sick, right? So there's my rabbit. And I've got inflate chosen right here. And I've got other things I can choose as well. This is one of my favorite new things, and newish things inside of Illustrator, is the ability to actually use this stuff in this way. Hello, Joshua. How are you today? Hope you're well. Yeah, you can. So Illustrator, if you don't know, it used to have a different 3D panel. We're able to do some, some interesting stuff. But, this panel, this new revised 3D materials panel, it does use things like Substance 3D, rendering engines and materials and things of that nature on your 2D artwork. So these are just, regular old vectors and super simple little ovals and stuff like that, right? So I'm able to go in here and actually, change some of these things. I'm not sure why I can't select that. I may have to select one at a time. I don't know. And they've got this share feedback down here because I think it's still technically considered a bit beta, right? Oh, here we go. If I select each one, then I do get, so like this guy right here, like this was a 2D object without any stroke. And, so I had extended this way down there. I could always go in, right? We got our little friend here. Could always go in and make adjustments to this, and they'll be reflected in the 3D object, right? So like if I move that up there, getcha. That's a little bit nicer looking, right? Still not perfect, but yeah, it's completely flexible because it's all vector based. Yeah. Yeah, the 3D stuff, the older 3D stuff wasn't as good. I mean, it was nice to have, because you were able to actually go through and, you know, make stuff 3D. But yeah, this is much better. So like, for instance, the bunny's nose, right? Let's go into the nose here. And if I go to materials, in my 3D materials, I can find maybe something that can give him a kind of a wet nose. What is this? Ominous obsidian. That's a bit, yeah, I don't know if I want that. And of course you can get more materials, right? So like down here, if we look, we've got find more materials on Substance 3D assets. And right next to that is find more materials on Substance 3D community assets. So community assets are things that other users have contributed to, you know, for other people to use, right? So pretty cool. So I'm wondering, I want to make something kind of wet for his nose. I don't know if rabbits have wet noses. I don't think so. They have like dry noses, don't they? So maybe this is ill-informed. Let's give him a gold natural nose, right? And there it is right there. Now, this is a low resolution, sort of like uncomplicated preview that we have here. One of the new things that we have inside of our 3D materials panel here is the ability to do a ray tracing render directly inside of Illustrator. So if I tick that on, I can choose low, medium, or high, reduce noise, render as vector, all this stuff. Let's render that guy. So we can see here how it renders, right? So a lot of the stuff that you might find inside of Adobe Dimension or Substance 3D Stager, a lot of that stuff is actually present inside of Illustrator through this panel, which is like super cool. So yeah, we got materials, we got graphics, and this taps into you know, stuff that's inside of Illustrator, right? As your like little symbols and stuff like that. Yeah, so gold natural. If we look down here, check that out. We can choose the color. So I want the bunny's nose to be kind of pink, right? It's a bunny rabbit. Let's give him a nice little pink nose. And there we go. Now we've got a pink bunny rabbit nose. And I can always turn this off if it gets too intensive, right? Turn it back on. Just see how it works out. Yeah, but inside here, you have tons of properties for these materials. If you're familiar with Substance 3D materials, they're made to have like, you know, like all these different properties specific to the material that you can drill down and change. Like, look at all these sliders here, right? Kind of nuts. So I could take the contrast down on his little nose. Zoom in on that nose. Yeah, I don't like it so much with the contrast down. Let's bring that back up a bit. You got intensity, metallic variation. So metallic, I don't want it to be very metallic. It's a rabbit's nose. Roughness. So let's make it a little rougher. There we go. Dots, microdots, depth blur, surface deformation. There's so many different particular things here that we could mess with. And again, this is supposed to be gold, right? But I've modified it to suit my purposes, which is to create a nose for my bunny. So let's select everything again and go over to lighting. So, yeah, let's, maybe we should turn that off. My ray tracing for the nose here. Let's disable that for now. And zoom back out to my little bunny rabbit and see what kind of lighting we can do. Yeah, so these are all working because I've got everything on separate layers, right? It's not showing me the controls for that. So let's focus on the nose again. So on the nose here, we can see the lighting is pretty intense, right? So right now it's a standard. We could choose diffuse, right? Top left, right. And all of this can, of course, be controlled. These are all just presets up here. So like any preset, you can select it as a starting point. And then you can go through and change things, right? So, you know, we can change the intensity of the lighting. Take it down a little bit there. The softness of the light, the ambient light, whether it's included or not, and the intensity. And we can cast shadows if we want to, right? Toggle that on and off. So lighting, materials, object. It's almost like having Adobe Dimension like inside of Illustrator, which is pretty cool. Not quite, right? Not quite, but it gives you a lot of that stuff. So let's go ahead and select the rabbit's head and choose some kind of material for that. I don't think there's any fur materials inside of here, but of course we can get what happened to my little friend? Blech. I've got so many windows open. Which is fine. We'll deal. Sometimes you have too many windows, and it's like, where did my stuff go? But yeah. All right, so let's see here. Like, I don't know if I see anything. What is that? This is wall bricks. No, we don't want a brick rabbit, do we? Reconstituted wood. That might be fun. We could have like a wooden rabbit. Oh. Yeah, I don't know about that. So repetitions, right? We could make it have a bunch of repetitions, or we could have like almost none. And of course, we could always toggle on this little ray tracer too. Gosh, I don't like that wood. Let's choose a different one. Let's make the rabbit out of cork. Yeah, cork. That's pretty cool, actually. We could change the color, of course, just like we did with the other material. And yeah, the reason, so, you know, I was going to stream yesterday, as I mentioned, on do a part 2 of my creative coding exercise inside of Adobe Animate. However, Behance was broken for me yesterday. There was something wrong, which we fixed. I worked with the team. We fixed it. And this is meant to be more, oh, look at that. It's beautiful. This is meant to be more of a test stream more than anything else. So I wanted to choose a subject that would be pretty easy to cover in about 30 minutes. So I had just gotten off from some kind of a consultation with a student of mine. So I teach at the University of Colorado Boulder as a teaching assistant professor in their advertising and media design program. And yeah, one of my students was looking for some help with Illustrator, doing some 3D stuff, and I was like, let's take a look at this panel. So it's a perfect segue into this kind of thing for me. Let's change our lighting a bit. Yeah, so pretty cool stuff that you can do inside of here. All right. Well, as this is an impromptu test stream, I am going to say, let's go ahead and call it. Oh, hello, Eliseed. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Hello and welcome. This is not my usual streaming day. It's more like a test, as mentioned, but yeah, this little rabbit is pretty cool. Let's make this a little more red. A little warmer, right? Yeah, So yeah, you can go ahead and take your 2D artwork in Illustrator and you can render some really cool stuff from it. And also, something new that they've added is the ability to export these things as actual 3D models to use in other things. Which, how do you do that? I mean, we can always turn ray tracing on, right? To see this as a more realistic object. And also, I mean, you can notice here, you can actually add multiple materials and stack them, which is cool too. So this can get kind of crazy. Export selection. Look at that. And yeah, PNG file. Yeah, here you go. You can export that as an OBJ and bring that into other 3D software, like Dimension, like Substance 3D Stager. Just export that asset. Cool stuff. If you have not explored this, go for it. All right. I am going to say goodbye for now, but I'll be back next Wednesday morning at my regular schedule. Thanks for joining, everyone.